So this is gonna be different than my normal webinars. We got PowerPoint out. I can't even remember the last time I had PowerPoint up for a webinar. I like Poker Tracker, not PowerPoint. So we're gonna talk about goal setting today. And it's not gonna be your most conventional goal setting webinar because I'm just gonna tell you how I do it. And I'm not an expert in the field. I'm not the best. I'm just going to kind of go through how I do it and what I'm doing to try to improve myself. And so, seeing at your goals, and please ask questions a lot today. That's going to kind of go through, and then I don't know how long this presentation will take, if it'll take the full hour, whatnot. So we'll see. So succeeding at your goals, like the first thing I want to point is all these people like to wait till New Year's, like, oh yeah, I'm getting ready, 2021, New Year's goals. Like, no. If you're waiting until New Year's, you're probably not going to succeed at your goals. There's no reason to wait. No reason to wait till New Year's. It's only an excuse to procrastinate more. Start tomorrow, start anytime. You know, New Year's is just like an imaginary line that companies use to make money off of you. And so only thing that really happens on New Year's is tax season ends, and that's about it. So there's no real reason to just not start your goals tomorrow. And so I find that really important. And it kind of goes along with here. I titled this slide like what constitutes a good goal, and it's different for everyone. And I wrote this as identify what you know you should be doing, but you are not doing. So there's a lot of things. I mean, at least myself. I'm assuming other people are the same way. You know, let's do this as in the questions box. Let's type in, I'll give you a couple examples myself of things that you know you should be doing, whether it's poker or not, that you're not doing. So it could be, for me, like meditation, for example, something I need to be doing more of. For others, it might be studying more away from the tables. For some, it might be, you know, having a better work-life balance. Things that people know, Galen says, exercise more. Yeah, there's a lot of things. Drink less Coke. Yeah, type in what you're thinking. Sleeping more, good one. Eating healthy, studying more poker, exercise, and meditating, all good ones. These are all things that like spending more time on poker coaching, studying more and meditating more, sleeping better, using screens to close bed, using screens to close to bed or too close to bedtime. It's a good one. Record more hands for analysis, great. Hand history reviews, great. Baiting more turn cards and river cards. That's a good one. Good morning from Australia. I love Australia. I miss Australia. So those are all like really, 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 really good answers. And you don't have to be convinced to like do those things, but we're still not doing them, right? We're still not meditating. We're still not working out more. We're still not eating healthier, even though we know we should be doing those things. So we need to discover why we aren't doing those things at the moment. And what Kelly just said is something I'll get into in a second. I'll leave that comment up and I'll read it when it comes up here in a minute. Need to discover why we are not doing it at the moment. So I'm copying this, kind of not copying it, but this comes from like Elliot Rowe. I've worked through some of his stuff. He's done some webinars here on poker coaching. Obviously, he has his own products and stuff. So he has an exercise he calls the brave exercise. And I'll kind of just like, I'm not going to go into it, but just the gist of it is there's potential unconscious reasons we may not be doing something. And we really need to discover why we are not doing something before we can actually start to implement a goal. So for example, this has to do with Kelly was saying is, you know, a lot of people are scared or reluctant to get into PO Solver or study more, for example, okay? You know, there's a big learning curve. They look complicated. There's a lot of information. And for example, you know, someone just typed PO intimidates me, okay? And Kelly just said something I think is very important, which I kind of wrote in my example. I think people are afraid they might not be as good as they think they are. And you might, if you're like scared to study more and you can't find out, like, you know, you should be studying more to win, but you aren't. Why? One reason could be subconsciously, your mind is protecting you from identifying how much you don't know. And this was a big thing for me like 2 years ago. I was kind of worried to get into solvers because, and subconsciously, I was worried. It was kind of a fear, the fear of unknown of how much I don't know. And my subconscious mind was protecting me. Like, don't study because you're going to find out how bad you are at this game. And That's like is it a legitimate fear? No, but it's a fear that your mind is using to help protect you. They call these, what does he call them in the book or in his program? I can't remember the name. You need to work through that fear and rewrite the program. Oh, detrimental programs. So your body writes all these detrimental programs to help protect you. So for example, maybe another example, you might, detrimental mental programs. Jim B's got it. So for example, going to the gym. You might not go to the gym because subconsciously your mind doesn't want to like have to face the fear that like you can't complete the whole workout. And it's scared of the not being able to complete that workout. Maybe it's a group class and you realize there's other people stronger than you. So what you need to do and how this brave exercise works, and again, I'm not going to like generalize, is you identify what the actual like detrimental program is. So for example, in studying, you may realize the fear of the unknown, that you're going to discover how much you really don't know about this game, and it's going to feel like you're in the middle of the ocean. You're a little small little pea in the middle of the ocean. It's like this big thing. How do you conquer it? The next part is to like really imagine what's the worst case scenario. Okay, worst case scenario, you go to the gym and you can only do 10 minutes or something. You only do 10 minutes of work at the gym, or you go to study in the solver and you get confused, and maybe you're like, oh, is it going to hurt my game? That type of stuff. You need to like really think it like, what's the absolute worst case scenario? You start studying, you realize you're not that good at this game, you realize that you don't want to put in the time and effort to get really good, and you stop playing poker. Maybe that's the worst case scenario. What's the best case scenario? Well, the best case scenario is like, you start to realize, you recognize patterns in the solver. You realize, hey, I can actually use this solver correctly. I can use this solver to help me study more efficiently. I can use this solver to really improve my game and help achieve my long-term goals in poker. And you're trying to weigh like, does the positives outweigh the negatives? And most of the time, if it's something you should be doing, positives are going to outweigh the negatives. Maybe a better example than PO solver is you go to the gym. The worst case scenario, going to the gym, you get exhausted after 10 minutes and you physically can't do anything more than 10 minutes, and you look embarrassed in front of other people because you have to walk out of the class because you are out of breath and you're dying and everyone else keeps doing the class. So you're embarrassed, okay? That's the worst case scenario. What's the best case scenario? Well, maybe you go for 10 minutes the first day, and then the next day you can do 15 minutes, and then you keep progressing. You get stronger. You eventually see progress. You're more confident. Your health turns better. You have lower blood pressure. Like all these positives, you start to realize that, oh, hey, the positives really outweigh the negatives in those things. So it's kind of an overview of just the basic gist of this slide is you really need to identify why you currently aren't doing it. And that can take some work. And you have to really look into your subconscious and try to figure out why you really aren't doing it. Is there an underlying fear? Is there an underlying reason of why you aren't doing something? And until you kind of figure that out, you're probably not going to succeed at your goal. Okay. Now, for example, myself, meditation, it's like not my favorite thing. I'm impatient, but the outcome, like what is the downside of meditation? Really nothing. When I think about it, there's nothing wrong with downside. It takes time, 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. The upsides are, there's no one that really started meditating a lot that ever had any bad things to say about it, right? There's not really any downsides of it. So like that's an example of like an easy thing to realize, like, okay, I just have to schedule the time. That's all I have to do. I'll get through some of these questions here in a few minutes here. So myself, we already kind of went through this. Some of the things I should be doing but aren't: meditation, reading, work-life balance, studying with other players, developing activities outside of poker to refresh and rejuvenate myself. These are just some examples of things I know I should be doing more of, but currently am not. I split my poker goals into, actually, I'll go through these questions really quick. Someone would say the Tau of poker is a good thing to look into. Is there an alternative to PO Solver? Is it worth to invest the 300 USD for it? I think PO Solver is very underpriced. PO Solver, I think, should cost a lot more than the $300 to $500. PO isn't for everyone. Like if you, depending on the skill level you're at, you might not need PO at all. Maybe you're just at the point where you're still learning your fundamentals. Maybe you're at a point where you have your fundamentals down, but you've kind of realized you've hit a wall. There are alternatives. There's simple products and whatever. The point of this is not about PO solver. That was an example. Just take studying in general. Like maybe you don't study in a group because with other players, maybe you're scared to join one of Lewis's study groups. Okay, maybe you realize like you don't want to be the person like realize that, hey, these people are more advanced than me, rather than realizing, hey, I can learn a lot from these people and help progress my game, and I can provide value to this group because I have a certain mindset that maybe they're missing. And so Kelly says I was really scared after this morning. So yeah, that's something that I was thinking of. So okay, I split my poker goals into, or I have non-poker goals and poker goals. How I look at my poker goals are, there are 3 attributes that you can control for your bottom line. Number of games, ROI, and average buy-in. Those are the 3 things that I really feel like you can control. There's a couple others. You can put the mental game in there. I consider that under ROI. How do we control ROI? I'm going to get into that, Jim. So each of these has its own slide. So these are the 3 levers. Think of them as like ship levers that you can raise up and down to help control your total profits for the year. And I feel like your goals should be directed around these 3 aspects: volume, ROI, average buy-in, because those are the 3 things you can control. So volume. How many sessions per week and per month can you play? How long do you register per session? Or if you're a cash game player, how many hands per session do you play? How long do you play for? And how many tables do you play at a time? These are the types of questions I'm asked when I'm talking about volume. ROI. I think it's the most important lever. I would put it ahead of volume. I should have ordered it that way. Skill level. How well do you understand concepts? How well do you understand why you should be continuation betting? How well do you understand river bluff catching? How well do you understand ICM? All parts of things that affect your ROI. This is your studying. Table count. Table count affects volume. It also affects ROI. The more tables you play at a time, the less of an ROI you're going to have. The less tables you play, the higher your ROI. They're levers, okay? One goes up, one goes down. The mental game. Mental game stuff is very, very important to ROI. Routines, habits, structure, the environment that you work in. All these things affect your ROI, okay? They affect your concentration. They affect your ability to focus. All these things have an impact on your ROI, okay? And average buy-in, okay? Your skill level affects what average buy-in you should be playing. Your table count can affect what average buy-in. If you're playing a really low average buy-in, you can probably play more tables. Higher average buy-in, you can play less tables. And then obviously, most importantly, bankroll affects your average buy-in. These are the 3 levers that I think really, affect your bottom line at the end of the year. So you need to identify what is reasonable for you. If you played 500 tournaments last year, playing 5,000 tournaments with no lockdown pandemic is probably not realistic. Everyone's volume this year was probably way higher than it should be next year. Why? Because a lot of people weren't working. A lot of people were shut down, locked at home. What do you do when you're locked at home? You can play online poker every single day. Probably not going to be, for a lot of people, a realistic thing going forward. Base your goals. Look back the last year, 2 years, last 3 years. Base your goals for the 3 levers on past performance. Make them realistic. Maybe you increase your volume by 10%, 20%. Don't try to double, triple your volume. That's not realistic, okay? And how I go about doing this is forecasting, okay? So I call this my forecasting. I do this for an annual forecast. I do it for a monthly forecast. I'll do it for like a weekly forecast. I kind of break it all down, okay? So this is just like a rough outline of how I'm doing it myself, okay? So I know personally myself, I play 13 to 15 sessions per month, okay? Some months it's more, some months it's less, but I'm right around that 13 to 15 sessions per month. I don't like to play on back-to-back days. My energy levels are low. I find that I just don't play as well on a back-to-back. I normally play 1 day back-to-back per week. And then I play longer sessions. So I'm playing roughly 3 to 4 sessions a week, and I play longer sessions. 9 tables max. This is gonna be a big focal point for me next year. I've at times 14 tabled. I've sometimes 12 tabled, 6 tabled. I really think 9 tabling is kind of the perfect balance for myself of maximizing the product of volume and ROI. Okay. And it's a big focal point for me because I hate to miss out on stuff. And I really need to focus on like, hey, I don't really need to add that, you know, my average buy-in is $150 or $130. I really don't need to add in a $20 tournament that's my 10th or 11th table when I'm playing some 200s, some 300s, some 100s. It's just, it's a good tournament and I want to play it, but it's the juice is not worth the squeeze. Okay. I tend to average about 30 entries per session when I'm 9 tabling. Again, I've gotten these numbers. I look back at my past records. Okay. These are factual numbers about what I did this year, what I did the previous year. So in the past, you know, I take 30 entries per session, 13 to 15 sessions. I've averaged somewhere between 400 and 600 tournaments a month. Obviously, Sundays I'm playing a lot more. This is kind of my baseline. 400 to 600 tournaments a month is what I've been playing. I average 3 buy-ins per tournament. No, this is just like I bust out a tournament, I load a new one. No, I don't average 3 entries per tournament, but let's say I bust out a $50, I have a table space. Now I'm entering, either re-entering that tournament or jumping in a new tournament. So I'm registering for like 4 hours, and I'm guess each slots, I have 9 available slots. Think of it like, I like the airline industry. Think of it like an airport. There's so many runway slots, time slots for takeoffs. I have 9 spots, and over a session, there can be 3 takeoffs. Like I average 3 tournaments per slot, if that makes sense. Long-term forecasting. So this is kind of what I'll do for the beginning of the year. If you notice, it's not like, I call it like working backwards to see what works. So for example here, let's say my goal is to make $100,000 playing poker next year. Okay. I know my average buy-in. I'll just put down I put down $120. My ROI, I said I'm 20%. Be conservative. Okay. I said 20% ROI. So you multiply those together, I make $24 per game. So what I did next is I took 100,000 divided by 24. I would have to play 4,166 games next year to make $100,000 as a $120 ABI with 20%. So now I figure out, well, how many games is that a month? That'd be 347 tournaments per month. For me, how many tournaments did I average before? 400 to 600 per month. This is 347. This is a very realistic and probably I should probably up these numbers a little bit for my forecasting. The goal here is what I'm saying is play around with the 3 levers to see what works best for you and do some type of long-term forecasting in terms of your average buy-in, your ROI, and the amount of volume you have to play, and see what's realistic for you. This is going to be different for everyone. Some of you are going to play 300 tournaments in a year. Some of you will play 300 tournaments in a month. This is how I do my long-term forecasting. Let's do this. How many of you have worked around with the tournament variance calculator? This doesn't have to do with goal setting necessarily, but this is pretty important. So we'll go through it. Let's go Google tournament variance calculator. primedope.com tournament variance calculator. If you've never used this, you want to use this. Okay. What we're going to do here is you want to put in the information here. My tournaments on average, let's say there's 500 players. They pay like 63 spots or 81. Most of them pay like 15%. So we'll say that 81 spots paid. My average buy-in is, we'll say 120 with this a $10 rake, whatever it is. Let's just say $100 with $9 rake. I have a 20% ROI, and I'm gonna do this per month. So let's say how many games are you gonna play? And I'm gonna put 500. So I said I'd play 400 to 600 tournaments a month. I'm gonna play 500 tournaments at $100 average buy-in with $20. And sample size, so let's put this at 10,000. What this is gonna do is what I'm trying to do here is see what my probability is of loss in any one month. So we're going to come down to this section right here. And these are all the possible outcomes for how a month could go for me. Okay. How each month can go. And we're going to look down here. The couple of numbers that I really want to see is, so if I play 500 tournaments in a month, let's say my buy-ins are about 54,000 and my EV is $11,000. So saying I'll make on average $11,000 per month. Okay. You see here, it was pretty close to that number in its simulations, average ROI. I like this number a lot. Probability of loss, okay, 25%. That means 3 out of 4 months I'm going to make money. Okay, I want this number to be as low as possible. Okay, so what numbers affect this probability of loss? Your ROI, the number of players, and your how many you're going to play. So let's say your ROI. Let's calculate. Let's just change my ROI in half. Okay, let's say my ROI is 10% instead of 20. What's going to happen to my probability of loss? How do we calculate ROI? Use your records, use your long-term, what your ROI was last year. You can use Shark Scope to track online tournaments. Use your spreadsheets, pull the manager 3. If it calculates the buy-ins of tournaments, like I know on ACR, they don't input that. So you're going to have to do some work in terms of looking at your records. So yeah, your probability of loss is going to increase. So ROI and volume are like the 2 biggest things. So now you see here, now our probability of loss is almost 40%. 40% almost here. Now let's say we're 10% and we only play 250 tournaments a month. Now we're losing half the time, okay? So you can start to play around with this and see kind of once you do your forecasting, see like, okay, what types of swings can I be using? What type of average buy-in should I be playing? Like, what's my probability of losing money? I can do this for the year. So let's say I play 400 to 600 tournaments a month, okay? So that'd be 4,800 tournaments, between 4,800 and 6,000 tournaments a year. So let's like, say I play 5,500 tournaments. So that's for the year. And let's say I play a $100 average buy-in with a 20% ROI. Okay. Now we're looking at my yearly. You see here, there's one outlier. Probability of loss, 1%. Okay. 73 out of 10,000, less than 1%. Pretty hard to lose money when you play that much volume and you have a 20% ROI. Let's say if you have like a 5% ROI, I don't know. Now you can lose 30% of the time, you're just going to lose for the whole year. Okay. 30% of the time, you're going to have a losing year. This is why your ROI is super, super important. Okay. You need to study. Kind of want to get out. So prime dope, tournament variance calculator. I'd play around that a lot while you are, play around with different volume, different ROIs, see probability of loss for a month, for a year, for per session, per week. We can look per session. Okay. So let's say I'm playing 30 tournaments with a 20%, like I said. What do you think my probability of loss is per session? How many sessions am I going to lose? I'm going to guess like 60%. Oh, yeah. Wow. That was the same guess, 60%. Yeah, I'm going to lose about 60% of the time. So I'm going to lose more sessions than I win. That's just for one day. I only play 30 tournaments. So the variance is really high. I'm going to lose a lot. Like for a week, say I play 150 tournaments. It's going to be less than 60, it's probably like 40%. Yep, 41%. So you can start to play around here and start to feel out like different, wow, I make $50,000 in 1 week. That's pretty good. The best run. So, yeah, bigger fields, more variance. If you reduce this to like, you can reduce the number of players, which is going to lead to a little smaller ROI. You can play around with this tool a lot. And if you play tournaments, you should definitely be playing around with that tool. Okay. Monthly forecasting. I do the forecasting the same way each month, depending on my schedule. Some months are higher volume, some months are lower volume, some are more live poker, some are more online. Some months are going to be more steady. Some months there's no steady. So for example, during the World Series of Poker, I'm just playing. And my studying, like the month before the World Series, my volume will be low, my study will be very high, because I know in July, in June, if there's a World Series, I'm playing a lot. Okay. So doing like plan around Scoop, W Coop, if you're playing on Poker Stars, plan around like the OSS series on ACR, plan around these things. Look at the past year, figure out where you know the highest volume months are for you. All these types of things. And what I do the first of every month, I'll just kind of write this out. So first of every month, make a schedule. I go, I'm working these 15 days playing, okay? I spread them out. I know I'm playing Sundays. I play normally Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and sometimes on Fridays, sometimes on Saturdays, depending on what's going on. So I plan out what days I'm playing. I go, okay, oh, I have a family trip this week. I'm gonna have a week off. So this month, I'm only gonna play 10 sessions, for example, because I have a vacation. Or, maybe your wife is working a ton this month, so you have extra free time. So you're going to play more sessions because there's less family time that you need. You can play 15 sessions one month. So start to work out the forecasting for each month. So I do that the first of every month. And yeah, that's kind of how I go about like my forecasting. And it helps me plan cash flow. It helps me plan a lot of things. Any questions on volume and like forecasting? Yep, that's right, Jim. So, all right. ROI. Improving your win rate. Okay. We have a few ways to measure this, but they're not perfect. It's hard to measure your ROI in tournaments. Big blind per 100, winning more chips, ICM work, winning more money late in tournaments. Kind of what I'm getting at with ROI work is you need to set up a study system. And I feel like a lot of people, mention in chat if you think you're an effective and efficient studier. Do you think you are effective and efficient in your study time? Yeah, a lot of people said could be better. Khalil says I study every day, 12 hours a day. Some people are like semi-effective. Like I think I'm effective, but I definitely can do a lot better. And I have some things that we'll talk about that I'm working on in terms of my study. And when I say setting up a study system is 3 things: structured, scheduled, and efficient. Okay. You want it to be structured, clear goals, clear topic, and clear objective for the day. So this is why, if you've attended my webinars, I've kind of shifted it over the last year. I don't do many hand history reviews anymore, right? In my webinars. And I think there's a time and place for hand history reviews, and I do them every once in a while. But I think it's much more efficient to have a narrower focus when you study. So for example, today we're going to study, like last week we studied playing 3-bet pots out of position. Okay, we studied that for 2 weeks straight. We studied, before that we were studying big blind facing C-bets from button and under the gun. Okay, we spent 2 weeks on that. Then we were facing defending versus C-bets from the small blind, right? Those are kind of the last 3 like structured points that we did. I think it's really, really important to be very as narrow focused as possible in your studying. Problem is when you review a hand history, one hand you're looking at a 4-bet pot, one hand you're looking at a 3-bet pot, the other hand you're looking at the caller, the next hand you're looking at you're the pre-flop raiser. It gets hard to recognize patterns and get consistent feedback. When you study a specific spot for a week straight, you start to really learn that spot in depth, and you're more effectively going to be apply that knowledge in game because you have more experience with it. Okay. Yeah. So a couple of people, I'm just reading a couple of comments like not effective, listen to study sessions while working out or completing chores. That will be on the next slide. Probably should be in a group with someone else. Yes, I agree. Scheduled. This is a big one for me. This is my improvement. I kind of just like end up studying a lot and not having a scheduled end time. So for me, I feel I'm inefficient in terms of I spend too much time on something that I don't need to spend as much time on, or I'm just kind of like dig too much into the rabbit hole, for example. So for me personally, having a structured, okay, I have 90 minutes to study and I'm going to have a hard stop at 90 minutes. Now, what that does for me is it A, means, okay, I have to be very efficient. I only have 90 minutes. B, I can't cover 6 things while I have this 90 minutes. I'm going to focus on 1, maybe 2 things this entire time, okay? Andrew says, Andrew, what are you asking in terms of how do I know what? You said, so how do you know question mark? I'm not sure which question you're referring to. Oh, sorry, just answered. Maybe I answered it. Inefficient. Oh, how long? It's what works for you. I play for a living and I play full time and I coach. I do a lot of studying. Okay. So for me, I study 15 to 20 hours a week. I might be able to dedicate to studying and I'll have a breakdown later. For someone that has a full-time job and plays recreationally, maybe 3 hours of study a week is what they can dedicate. Perfect, that's fine. But you want to make sure you're the most effective you can be with those 3 hours. Okay, so you need to figure out what's the most effective thing for you in those 3 hours. Efficiency, I mean, kind of has to do with these 2 things. I don't know if I have too much, but because having it structured and having it scheduled leads to efficient study sessions, in my opinion. So personally, I schedule 10 to 15 hours per week of studying. What is not studying? Okay. Watching Twitch is not studying, in my opinion. You can learn stuff, but it's more entertainment. Okay. Watching videos while working out, walking the dog. I watch a lot of my like poker coaching, like I'll watch the webinars while I'm like walking the dog. When I watch it walking like the dog, I'll normally have a poker video up, you know, like that. That's not study time for me. That's like entertainment and like maybe like if you want to count it, I might count it as like a quarter of an hour of study. Like 1 hour watching a video like that is maybe worth a quarter hour of study time. Watching videos in bed, like etc. Definitely not studying. What is studying? Active engagement, note taking, scheduled start and stop time, full focus and attention. This is what studying is, okay? Being on a group Zoom call with 4 people, studying and actively participating, that is studying, okay? Those things are studying, not these things. Like Twitch, like, this is why, like, I'll be honest, like, I don't watch many, like, I do watch poker videos, okay? I do, but most of my study is on my own, okay? And if you're gonna watch poker videos, when you watch these poker coaching seminars, you need to be fully engaged and like taking notes, pausing and stuff. When I watch an hour-long like seminar, it takes me an hour and a half, maybe more. Like I end up watching them at like increased speed to make it more efficient, but I start and stop them a lot. And like if I'm watching like a live play thing, and this is why I don't watch them because I don't think it's that efficient. Like I pause at every decision point and say what I do. And if they do something different, I listen for, okay, what's the explanation? Why did this player do this? Because I would have done this. Now I'm pausing it, guessing what I'm going to be doing. Treating it like a quiz, how the quizzes are like force you to stop and guess before. Khalil Harris says, I'm spending my due time on the new tournament masterclass. My goal is to complete it and execute my new skills in a tournament in 2 months. I think that's a great goal. And then what you need to do with that goal, though, Khalil, is so let's say you want to complete the tournament masterclass and implement it and work on it within 2 months. Break it down week by week. How many parts are there to the tournament masterclass? To be honest, I'm not sure. If there's 8 parts, perfect. You need to do 1 part a week. So your goal is to get 1 scheduled through 1 section per week, for example, if that were the case. Breaking it down, and that's why I work backwards in my goal setting. Scheduling study. one of the most effective changes I've made in my poker game over the last 2 years is scheduling my study time. So for me personally, I like to study in the morning. It's like the gym. If I don't do it early, I get distracted by other things and I don't do it. Um, every single day for like the last 8 months, 7 a.m. to like 8:15 a.m., 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, I'm studying. This work time for me is a combination of like group study and video work. Okay. This is like habit now for me. Every day, 7 a.m. I wake up at like 6:15, walk the dog, make coffee, do that, and I'm in my office at 7 a.m. Okay. Most days for me personally, so that's like 6 hours of study for me. Okay. Most days for me include an additional 60 to 90 minutes. Deep dive work on my own, aggregate report work, spot work. I normally have a theme of the week. So for example, button versus big blind, single raise pots, small blind, 3-bet pots, out of position, etc. Don't jump around topics. Learn one topic at a time. Okay. So what I wrote here, what I mean, I don't know if I worded this right. So I said, take my webinar for the week. So for example, the last 2 weeks I did 3-bet pots out of position, right? So I had 3-bet pots out of position the last 2 weeks. If I were you, spend that week, go through every single 3-bet pot out of position you played in the last 2 months over your week. Okay. Do 5 a day or 10 a day. That's how I would do it. Like if I was in your shoes, for example, I'm going to be doing like multi-way work next year. A lot of like simple, like I have some 3-way solvers that I'm working with, and like eventually we're going to be doing a lot of 3-way work. And when I do that, go through all your 3-way spots. But the thing is structuring it. For me, like I just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go study, and I just end up studying with no end time. For me personally, one of my main goals is develop an end time. I want an end time for my study. Study ideas. Luis Felipe holds a study group in the Discord. This is a big one and something I'm going to get more into, and I'm starting to do more. Answer hands in Discord. This is studying for me. So like my students know for my personal like one-on-one coaching, we have a private Discord. They can post hands in there, and I haven't been as consistent, but like I pretty much answer almost every hand that's in there. And one of my goals is going to be have like a dedicated 20 to 30 minutes per day where I'm answering hands in Discord, rewatch past seminars, do a database review marked hands, a lot of things. And have a specific thing you're doing. I have 60 minutes today. I'm reviewing my marked hand from my last 2 sessions. Done. You have a goal. You have what you want to do. I'm going to review my marked hands for the last 2 sessions, and you have a start and an end time. I have 60 minutes. Okay. If I only get through 2 hands, perfect. I accomplished something still. So this is seem to be many study groups for my skill level. They're all too advanced. Find people that are at your skill level. Create a study group yourself. Post in the Poker Coaching Discord. Hey, this is my average buy-in level. I'm have a good work ethic. I'm trying to work hard. Find like-minded people around, and I think a good study group doesn't have to be everyone at the same skill level. I think it's good to have people that are better than you, and I also think it's have people that are a worse skill level than you, because you're going to learn. I learn a ton. Like I'm not saying like coaching. I learn a ton coaching because it forces me to make sure I fully understand a topic that I can explain it to someone else. You need to make sure like you can learn a lot from people that aren't at your skill level. So like people aren't at my skill level and then I feel really dumb. Well, that's like what I was talking about before. You're like, maybe there's a fear of looking dumb in a study group because you're not at their same skill level. Okay. So think about what's the worst case scenario. All right. The worst case scenario is I look dumb. They laugh at me. They kick me out of their group. All those things, worst case scenario. What's the best case scenario? I add value to the group. They ask me for their opinions on a spot. They ask me on like, what would you do in this spot? They ask me, you might learn, you're going to learn stuff. You're going to progress. Maybe you progress faster than everyone else and you were the worst player in the group. And now 6 months later, you're actually the best player in the group because you're learning and you're progressing faster and working harder than the people in the group. So thinking about all those types of things and the reason why you're not doing it. So, Hiring a private coach, if you can do that, is like a very effective for a lot of people. Like they need the structure of having a coach in order to like structure their study time. For some people, that's, you know, important. Efficiency of your study. So for me, it's like develop a repeatable system that you can implement. Okay. For me, every spot I want to study follows like a clear system. So this is like a rough outline of how I study and how I work through a spot. So first, identify leaks via database review, or maybe it's marked hands where I'm like, I don't know what I should be doing here. Like, for example, I'm reviewing a marked hand. I marked it because I don't know how to do something. Well, maybe that's something I need to add to my study list. Or I find that I'm overfolding the C bets in 3-bet pots, for example. We worked on small blind play like last month because I was overfolding the C bets in the small blind. Okay, I identified a statistical leak in my game, and so boom, step one. For me personally, I use PO Solver a lot. You people know this, so I run scripts in PO Solvers for as many flops as I can, and generate aggregate reports for the situation. I'm trying to identify how my range plays on different textures, low connected boards, high connected boards. How does the spot play as a general thing? Am I betting here a lot? Is my range mostly checking? How do I interact on certain types of board textures? What types of boards do I overfold? What types of boards do I underfold? That's what I'm trying to figure out in my aggregate reports. Next, I go in my database and I filter for every hand in that situation for the last 2 months. So for example, when I was prepping for the out of position 3-betting seminar, whatever, a few weeks ago we were working, I just filtered my database for every hand where I called a 3-bet out of position. Then I went through and I ran all of them. And I started to identify where I'm not playing aggressive enough, where I'm overfolding, all these types of things. Run hands, identify where you're making your mistakes, what hand classes do you tend to overfold, what boards do you overfold on, and then finally, Lewis just mentioned this drill work, okay? So I like to use like DTO on my phone sometimes. Simple GTO trainer is a nice way to practice. There's a few different products where you can like drill yourself and play against like a computer AI to practice. Sit and go coach is good if you're working on push fold situations. And those are like, this is kind of my efficiency system, what I work through. Overworking, this is like personal stuff now. Like when I do my seminars, you already know this, like I'm just reiterating what I'm already working on my own. So like, this is something like for me, like I tend to work too many hours. Like this year I said, I want to be more efficient and controlled and like cap my hours. So like per week, 50 to 60 hours seems like a reasonable for myself. So I'm just working backwards. That's 240 hours a month, 2,800 hours a year. So my job is to make those the most efficient 28 hours. So next year, I'm saying I have 28 hours available to me and no more. And I need to figure out the most efficient way to structure those between playing, coaching, and studying. Okay? That's my job. And how I kind of do that, like, again, I'm just breaking it down. Like, this is how I work. Other people work different. I have 50 hours in a week, 4 sessions a week, averaging around 8 hours each. So that's 32 hours. 4 to 5 hours of coaching a week. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. That brings me to like 36 to 37. That leaves me roughly 15 hours a week to study. All right. So I have roughly like, that put me at like 54 hours or something. So now I can go further and break down those hours and days down even more. How do I want to structure my 15 hours of study? What days do I want to be doing studying on? Am I doing those on days I play, on what days I don't play, etc. Like, it's all about, for me, like breaking it down. I need structure. Otherwise, I kind of just am like all over the place. And this is how I handle my structure. Develop your goals to improve in these areas. So just don't say, I'm going to increase my ROI my goal is to increase my ROI from 5% to 10%. That's a great goal. Sure, but you're going to increase your ROI to 5% to 10%, but that's not the goal. The goal is how. How are you going to increase your ROI from 5 to 10%? So how are you going to increase your ROI from 5 to 10%? So 1, I'm going to find a study group to join that meets once per week for 90 minutes, okay? 2, I am going, sorry, I have a fly flying around my head in my office that I'm gonna try to kill. I'm going to schedule 3 60-minute session study sessions on my own or with someone else, whatever you want to do. 1 hour of marked hand review, 1 hour of quote theme of the week, like I was discussing before, and 1 hour of mental game work. Okay. Now you have like a process of how you're going to actually get to that 5 to 10%. Maybe this is different. How are you going to manage your volume? Okay. How many days are you going to play? How many tables? How are you going to deal with burnout? How are you going to try to, break your goal down to as many small pieces as you can? So you have the overriding goal. I want to get better at poker. That's not really a goal though. You can't measure it. You want all the things below that you can actually measure, that you can check off that you did every week. I'm going to meditate every day for 10 minutes to help my mental game. Okay. I'm going to do the tournament masterclass, and I need to do, to complete it in 6 weeks, I need to spend 3 hours a week on it. And so therefore, I'm going to break that down into 3 one-hour study sessions per week working on the tournament masterclass. Break it down, okay? What will your average buy-in in? What will your ABI be? What is your system for moving up and down? Well, I have a 10K bankroll right now, 10K bankroll. I'm playing, $33 tournaments. Like once I get to 15, like 15K, I take a 5K shot at 55s. Now you have to think about the downside. If I go to 6K, I go down to $20 tournaments. Have a system, okay? If you have a system like that, you don't have to think. You just follow your system, okay? Foresee problems along the way. Pre-plan for what can go wrong. Well, you go on a 4K downswing, your average buy-in is going to drop. What do? Well, you gotta drop your average buy-in. Maybe you increase your study time because you need to increase your ROI. Okay. Let's see here. What else? Accountability partners. Have a group of people to hold you accountable. Study groups. Those are great. Have a study group of like-minded players with similar goals. Have trusted people you can talk to problems about. Wow, we might finish this on time. So then this is just kind of a wrap up of what are some of my goal areas for 2021. So I haven't met all of them, and these aren't I'm not starting 2021. These are things that I know I need to be doing. So first, setting hard start and stop times for study. I tend to have open-ended sessions. I think it's more productive to limit the time and have a hard stop. Helps my work-life balance also. Being on time for every session, having completed a pregame warm-up. So if I say I'm going to start playing at 3 o'clock, I don't want to show up at 3:15. I want to be there at 2:55, 5 minutes before, ready to go. Okay. What do I need to be doing to make sure that happens? Well, now my session really starts at 2:30. Okay. My pregame session takes 25, 30 minutes. I need to make sure at 2:30 I'm already working. Develop a daily meditation practice, more structure on what I study each day, having a specific goal for that study session, weekly schedule every Sunday night. So again, I need to be really a lot more efficient in my time in terms of scheduling it, having a daily schedule every day in the evening before I go to bed. Volume goals, it's gonna be somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 tournaments. Average buying around $150, ROI 20%. I have some personal finance goals involving saving and structured plans with my money. Increasing my coaching offerings. I've thought about doing group coaching, different products, expanding my coaching, just kind of expanding myself outside of just playing. And then finally, and maybe most importantly, a work-life balance, structured time away from the game, structured family time, structured time where I have other activities that are taking my time away from poker. So Slide 22, someone's asking for. Your work is in poker now, which is a huge plus. That's great, Andrea. Can you go back slide? I did that. Group coaching is a great idea. Like a pro golfer, you need to take a practice session to the course during the tournament. And you bug us all, quit spewing. So, yeah, that's what I got for the PowerPoint. I have 5 minutes to answer questions. If anyone has, if you have questions for myself, you know, about any of this, like holistic side of like you know, this is how I think it. There's other ways to do coaching. I recommend going back and watching Evan's webinars. They're very good. I think if you go way back, there's some Elliot Rowe and Jared Tendler webinars potentially on goal setting. There's a lot of books, obviously, on goal setting effectively. But recognizing like what you control. Just don't say, oh, my goal is to get better at poker. Like that's not a goal. I mean, it is a goal, but you need to break it down more. Does the no back-to-back days prevent you from getting burned out? That was kind of I don't really get burned out too much. It's more like I just need more work-life balance. Why I don't play, I kind of recognize that like on Mondays, I just kind of noticed a pattern that like I wasn't really happy how I ever played on Mondays. And I realized it's just because I'm tired. I just played a 15-hour session on a Sunday, 10 tabling all day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and my mind is exhausted. And I just can't profitably play on Mondays because of how much like I am working on a Sunday. So like Mondays and Saturdays are almost always off days for me because I need to prepare myself for Sunday, which makes up most of my volume and most of my like profits for the year. So my goal there is to prepare. Like another thing I didn't add, let me do this, and this isn't really goal setting, but like structure sessions. So I have volume sessions and I have like what do I want to call them, like focus sessions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have sessions maybe on like a Friday where there's not, like a focus session, like maybe on like a Friday. Like a Friday where there's not a lot of big tournaments. I might 4-table the big buy-ins and really focus in and trying to play my 100% absolute best possible poker. And really trying to like identify the minute details while I'm playing. Versus on like a Sunday, there's too many good tournaments. I'm gonna, 9 to 12 table and play every tournament. And I know I'm gonna miss spots, all that type of stuff, but that's a volume session. So having like focus sessions and volume sessions, I think is really, really important. I want to be a profitable poker player or a better poker player, or more examples of purpose more than goals. Still very important. Goals are more specific, objective, and measurable. That's a very, very good point, Kenna. I cannot play back-to-back days anymore. I'm too old. Great job. Thank you. I do not know how you do that, 10 tables at once. I have to prevent myself from playing 16 tables. I'm using notes, sit and go coach and DTO to warm up for sessions now. I think that's really good. Does Lewis have a set schedule for his Discord study sessions? I think so. I think there is. What's a good average buy-in for a 5K in bankroll? It depends. It depends on, do you play full time? What happens if you go broke? Do you have other money if you go broke, or is that your only $5,000? If that's your only $5,000, you should be very, very conservative with it. If you have $1 million to your name and you're just dedicating $5,000 to poker, then you can be a little more aggressive with it. So it's all a personal type of preference. In general, something like 200 to 300 buy-ins is a good rule of thumb, but that's dependent for everyone's different. So where can I hire a coach? It depends if you're ready for a coach. So some people are in the stage where coaching is going to be very, very effective. Some people I get messages from, hey, I'm not a profit. Like I'll have some people that message me I'm not a profitable player. I want to be a profitable player. Will you coach me? And I go, sure, I will coach you, but there's more efficient ways. Like there's so much information on the internet right now that you can learn all the fundamentals and become a profitable player for much cheaper than you're going to pay me for one-on-one coaching. Now, some people still want one-on-one coaching, but it's a like there's more efficient ways to be there's more efficient ways to be you know, to get to your goal. So for some people, you know, coaching is right. Some people like they're not at the stage of coaching. But if you go on pokercoaching.com, you can go to the tools section and there has the coaches there that you can pick from and send a request to. You can email me, affleckpoker@gmail.com. You can email me about coaching or you can message me on Discord. My typing is a little dyslexic. When I'm typing fast and when I'm typing notes, I just don't really care about spelling. Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. for Lewis's study session, right after a little coffee. How do you get volume in Australia where online poker is illegal? Probably have to play on the offshore sites like ACR, those type of sites if there's no other options. Live poker, maybe you have to play like live cash. Maybe online poker isn't effective for you to have to get volume in. You have to find out what's going to work for you and your situation. Coach can motivate and provide guidance. I would never be there without mine. Yep, for sure. Jimmy, 10 a.m. Eastern, it's a little bit early for someone who's the West Coast. Well, you have to start to recognize, you know, what your goals are. Do you have to sacrifice some early mornings because you want to study more, for example? Yeah. People from Europe are requesting you do some sessions on their time. Isn't this on Europe time? This is like evening. This is like 9 p.m. Europe, 10 p.m. I know like a couple of my students are Europe, and they enjoy the 1 o'clock ones. Like this time they can make, but they can't make the 4 p.m. ones. So I don't mind doing early webinars. I like to do my work in the morning, so I can do early morning webinars. That's fine with me. My goal is to make a decent living playing poker. 14K bankroll, and I'm consistently beating MTT's 100 buy-in and lower. Is there any specific content or courses you would recommend on the site to help me move up in stakes? I think that's too general. Like a database review could be really good for you, Chris. Having a database review to identify specifically where you need to work on in your game. That would be like breaking it down very, very specifically. Some people are very solid in pre-flop and they suck at post-flop. Some people are okay at post-flop, but they have awful pre-flop range construction. So figuring out like what works for you. My husband coaches me, which is fine sometimes, but we're profitable players. But I just want someone to, I know, personally hold me accountable to be more consistent, learning more strategy in GTO. Played the main this past weekend. I was not happy with the way I play. I'll email you. Thank you. Sounds good. Shoot me an email. All the sessions are recorded. All of Lewis's study sessions are recorded and are soon going to be available on the website. That's great. They want AM sessions. Sure. It's 7 a.m. in Australia. I love it. My favorite place, Melbourne, is my favorite city in the world. You are my coach's coach. Awesome, Bruce. Actually, for me, I have a 10 work plus day coming. Yeah, you have to figure out what works for you and your schedule. I am in the EU and a big fan of this time, Liam says. Perfect. Does it make sense to mix up cash game and tournaments in your monthly volume, or is it more effective to specialize in one or the other cash or tournaments? It really depends, because for me, I want to specialize, and the game is, I'm playing higher stakes, and the game is too tough to like, I want to dedicate everything to the tournaments. But maybe you have a family and you work a full-time job, and tournaments really aren't that, you know, conducive to that. And so maybe playing cash games is better for you because you can play 3-hour sessions at night. So you have to figure out what works for you to figure out where you want to, what works best for you. Ballpark, what price would a database review cost? I charge $175 an hour. So for database review, it would take probably like half the time, 30 to 40 minutes of the time, and then doing, I kind of give you like a roadmap of where I think you should work. Planning to spend a lot more time on this. Perfect. Yeah, a lot of people love cash games because of the freedom of the time. I like that. I just don't enjoy cash games as much. I find tournaments way more interesting. So, all right, we're gonna wrap it up. I got a coaching session, so I will talk to you later. And good luck, everyone. I don't know what we're doing next week because of the holidays. I think, yeah, we're still having our schedule. Yeah, we're still doing it on the 23rd. I have my webinar. So, 23rd, we have the webinar. I will see you guys. Talk soon.
We're having a sale at pokercoaching.com. If you don't know, I have a training site, pokercoaching.com. We're having a holiday sale. Check it out at pokercoaching.com/holiday sale. And we have loads and loads of products there for you to help you crush whatever games you are playing. We also have my cash game masterclass. This is a 29-part masterclass where I teach you how to crush the cash games all the way up to 5 to no limit and above. If you're a Poker Coaching Premium member, this is just included in your Poker Coaching Premium membership. We also have loads of tournament content, including my Bigger 109 first place review, where I think I won something like $40,000 in a $100 buy-in tournament. That was a lot of fun. Also, I just released my tournament masterclass. This is over 180 parts long. You want an in-depth guide on how to beat tournament poker? Here it is. I got tired of all of the other sites out there putting out 4-hour training courses that they're charging you $1,500 for that teach you the absolute basics. We have a free fundamentals course. Check it out, pokercoaching.com/fundamentals. Here, this is 30 hours of strategy content with quizzes, lots and lots of interactive quizzes, hundreds of them, after each of the 180 parts, as well as many, many hand history reviews. This is actually not for sale, though. You can't buy it. The only way you get access to it is by being a Poker Coaching Premium member. And if you're a Poker Coaching Premium member, it is included. As you see here are all of the parts. We discuss pre-flop with various stack sizes, how to play on the flop in basically all scenarios with loads and loads of GTO strategy advice. Obviously, we discuss the turn and the river as well. And then we discuss ICM. I know we have 3 letters here, but this is actually a large part of the course. We have tournament format adjustments. We discuss re-entry tournaments, rebuy tournaments, satellites, progressive knockout tournaments, everything you need to know to win at tournaments. We discuss finances, other topics, and as you see here, all of these hand history reviews that I played over the last year. I only put in sessions on Sundays, so about half a Sunday now whenever I'm at home because I have a wife and 2 kids. But despite that, as you see, I don't even know how many this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 deep runs that are here for you, including some wins and some high stakes games. This isn't even all the wins. Here's one of my students at pokercoaching.com, Blas Zerjau, says that poker coaching has laid the foundations for him to excel at No Limit Hold'em. As you see, he's cashed for $2.4 million over the last few years, absolutely demolishing it. His results are not typical. I should probably say that. Most of you are not going to win $2.4 million next year, but that's what we are teaching you all to do. That's the goal. For poker coaching, for a poker coaching membership, if you want to sign up for 3 years today, you want to be locked in for long term, you want to commit to studying and working hard at poker, well, you can get it for less than $9 a month. What is that? 30 cents a day. 30 cents a day is almost nothing. If you want to study poker and get good at poker, you should probably be spending a little more than 30 cents per day on your education. Could you imagine if someone wanted to become a doctor and they say, you know what, I'm going to spend 30 cents a day on getting good at becoming a doctor. It's crazy. Poker education is basically free. I'm actually kind of tilted we're giving it away so cheaply. At pokercoaching.com, we have over 1,000 interactive quizzes like I alluded to earlier. We want you to be actively learning so your skills improve quickly. We're not trying to sit here and take forever to get you good at poker. We want to get you good at poker quickly, and interactive quizzes help with that. We put you in many scenarios, give you scores on where you are playing well, where you are playing poorly, and that's going to go a long way to helping you improve your skills. So, I don't know if you all know this. So far, over the last 2 years, I spent over $200,000 hiring our world-class coaches. It's a lot of money. It's not cheap. And every month, the bill is well over 5 figures for all of our coaches, for the premium members, because we have been producing loads and loads of high-value content. We have over 300 classes and webinars, including content by Brad Wilson, world-class cash game player. We also have Faraz Jaka. He just recently reviewed his $5,000 deep run in the WCOOP main event. We have the GTO master, Michael Acevedo. Oh my gosh, he has lots and lots of great content. I learned about him a few years ago. Had him write the book Modern Poker Theory. I'm like, I gotta have him be a coach of poker coaching, and I'm very, very happy with that. We also have Lexy Gavin, very, very strong cash game and tournament player. Matt Affleck. He makes live webinars every single week with the content somewhat directed by the students. He knows everybody's name. They're always in there studying every single week, working to improve their skills. And as you see here, Jonathan Jaffe, he is perhaps the most exploitative player in the world. He absolutely crushes it. Like I mentioned earlier, Bert Stevens, #1 player online in the world, streaming for us later today. We also have James Romero. He was one of the top 10 live players in the world pre-COVID. Who knows what the rankings are now, but he is an absolute crusher. Also, welcome our newest coach, Tommy Angelo. I have learned a lot through Tommy Angelo, even though I've not really worked with him personally. I've read his books. I've watched the content he made a long time ago for other training sites, and he is continuously upgrading himself, upgrading his teaching strategies, and I have learned a lot from him, and I know my students are as well. So I mentioned Evan Jarvis. Yep, we got Evan Jarvis as well. Lots and lots of coaches. It's also a lot of people on the training site have a few hours of content. I've been fortunate enough to work with many of the best players in the world, and we have content by all sorts of players in pokercoaching.com, so check that out. So let me ask you a question. Obviously, I'm not going to charge you the over $10,000 a month that I'm paying for this content. That would be ridiculous. And even $500 a month, I'm not going to charge you. There is a popular training site out there. Good training site. They charge their students $500 a month. Even if I did charge you $500 a month, if all we did was help you win just one big additional pot every session that you wouldn't have won otherwise, what is that worth? That's worth a pretty good amount right there, right? What if all I let you do is just attend the weekly live coaching webinars with our coaches who have won over $50 million in poker and let you ask your biggest questions to them live every single week? What is that worth? Because that's what you get at poker coaching. You get to ask the best players in the world your questions. And if all I did was give you a way to put yourself in lots of poker situations to test yourself every single day without you actually risking money, what's that worth? And you get instant feedback from the world-class coaches so that you have a way of practicing every single day, even if you can't play right now due to COVID or because you don't want to play on shady sites that operate in America. What is this new situation where you can get feedback worth, where you can play and study and test your skills? Well, if you think this is valuable, if you want to get in there and learn from the best in the world and improve your skills on a regular basis, then you need to take advantage of the holiday sale and join Poker Coaching Premium. Here's what we have available for you all today. You can get a 1, 2, or 3-year membership to pokercoaching.com. Also, for the first time ever, we are going to offer a 3-month subscription. Some of you said that you wanted to be able to sign up for a shorter amount of time. The dollar commitment was a little too big for a 1-year subscription, even though it is, relatively cheap in terms of dollars per month and dollars per day. $2 per day. Here you have it. Here are the offers. Check it out, pokercoaching.com/holiday sale. I see someone in the chat. Do you have any sort of money back guarantee? Yes, of course. We are not some sort of shady person that wants to get your money and then light it on fire at the club. If you do not learn a ton from pokercoaching.com, send me an email. Tell me you don't like it, and I'll give you a completely 100% refund within 30 days. No questions asked. What more do you want from me, right? I'm literally spending many thousands of dollars every month for you. If you don't like it, I foot the bill. I am so confident that you are going to learn a ton and improve your poker skills that we're happy to give this 100% money back guarantee. Here's what we have available for you. Check it out, pokercoaching.com/holiday sale. Should you get Poker Coaching Premium? If you want to study and get good at poker, look, I realize a lot of you don't actually care about getting good at poker, and there's nothing wrong with that. You do not have to get good at poker to enjoy poker. Now, if you want to win money at poker, if you're trying to succeed long-term at poker, then yeah, you should be studying poker. You have to realize, basically every world-class professional has spent tons of time studying, myself included, And I am taking everything that I have learned, consolidating it, and bringing it to you. That's exactly what all of our coaches are doing as well. Same thing. We are all continuously working hard and learning and giving you the best of what we have so that you do not have to waste any of your time. Like I said, I mean, look, if you sign up for 3 years, it's $42 a month. What's that? $1 and change per day for, I'm telling you, all of the high-level poker content you could possibly want. I have a hard time getting through all of it, and it's my own training site because there's a lot of content there. So anyway, check it out. If you want to continue studying over the holiday season, there's a study group at pokercoaching.com ran by Louis Philippe. Make sure you get in the Poker Coaching Discord. Go to the community tab on Poker Coaching to get in that, and then go to the study sessions and make sure you are actively working with all the people who are working to improve their skills. All right, that's going to be it for today. Enjoy yourselves. If you have any questions about anything, send us an email, support@pokercoaching.com. I have a great support team that will get back to you in the near future. Recognize I'm going to continue doing great work for you for the rest of this year and the next year and the next year and the next year. We're here for the long run to continue improving together.